Italian dual citizenship documents, this is really important. Today we want to focus about two things, about two aspects about the documentation for having the documentation prepared for Italian dual citizenship by descent, especially in the proper way. This is Marco Barzani as always from the Barzani Law Office from Italy, and do not lose any more time. Let's start. We noticed that sometimes it's not so clear about the how to prepare the documentation, especially for two things, two aspects. So the so-called legalization process or the apostille and the translation into Italian. Those steps are really important. Are really important, not just because you need to prepare those documents that way, but because your document won't be accepted by the Italian authorities. So you risk that also your application will be denied if you don't accomplish those two requirements. So let's start from the first, maybe the most important part. So the first part of the preparation of documentation, so related to the legalization process. We refer to the word legalization. For legalization, legalization process is the same as the so-called apostille. The apostille is a way to legalize a document. So the foreign government will affix the apostille, allowing the documents to be used into another country. The apostille is an international standard that was adopted by the international convention, the so-called Hague Convention, where a lot of countries signed for this convention. So in this convention, they allow the fact that they can use a document from one country that was signed, the convention, to the other country who also signed the same convention. So it's a way to have to share the documentation between countries. So the apostille, luckily, for the process for citizenship by descent in many countries, so Italy of course is part of the apostille convention, but also many countries where there are a lot of Italian immigrants are also part of the apostille convention. So most of the time, if you are, for example, from the US, from Australia, from South America, you can ask for the apostille. At the end of November 2023, we know that Canadian government announced that Canada will be part too of the apostille convention starting from January 2024. So we can also say that Canada will be also part of the process. I'm saying that especially for all the Canadian clients and all the Canadian viewers, because in Canada the process for preparing documentation is more challenging than in other countries, because for the moment, until next January there is no apostille in Canada, but just a different process which is called legalization. So the apostille or legalization is the same process for having this document coming from a foreign country being accepted by the Italian government, by the Italian authorities. So as you may understand, this is really not just important, but it's vital for your application. Because if you file a document without the legalization, without the apostille, your document cannot be accepted by the Italian authorities. It's like you didn't file the document. So second stage, there is also the translation. After you got the apostille, well, you need to translate the documentation to Italian. You have not to expect that the Italian authorities will speak English and understand English. Everything must be translated into the Italian language. When it comes to the translation, it's very important to not just proceed with self-translation. We saw a lot of time people that made a self-translation, the worst case scenario with Google Translate. This is not acceptable. Not because we don't want to accept, but because the Italian authorities requires a legal translation, which means that the translation must be made in two ways. If you are making your translation abroad, in your foreign country, you need an official translator, which is generally recognized but also by the local Italian consulate. The translator will translate the documentation in Italian, and then the translator will have to go to the Italian consulate to legalize the signature. So to have the authentication, we can call it, of the translation. So on the documentation, you will have the translation with that sticker an approval from the Italian consulate. Or you can make a translation in Italy by sending all the documentation. So there's an official translator. They can do a legalization authentication process, which is called asseverazione in Italian language. So the translator will have to translate all the documents, then go to the court, to the local court, to make the asseverazione, so the authentication of the translation that was made. This is really, really important. This is the legal process for being sure that the document must be accepted. Our advice, of course, is to avoid self-made legalization, translation, or something like that. You need to rely on professionals to do that. There are, for the apostille, I mean, there are a lot of companies that make these services. So if you don't want to deal with this, or you're not our client, you can, proceed with the apostille also through a company that provides the services and also for the translation. We provide all the services, it's not a problem. Of course, we can provide both the services for the apostille, limited to some countries like the US. So we can, for example, provide assistance for US clients for the apostille, and for all clients from all around the world, we can also provide the service for the translations thanks to our external partners, our translators that will take care of the translations. As always, thank you for your time. If you want to share some questions, some doubts, some comments, you can leave comments here below to the YouTube video. Of course, we cannot provide consultation here on social media, of course, because we need to analyze your case. But you can also contact us through the website. There is a contact form you can use. It's free of charge. You can share with us your question, your case. If you want, we can make a free eligibility check of your case. It's really, really important. It's also important not just you make a like on the video, but also to subscribe to our channel, to the YouTube channel. It's really important because as we have a news, an update, we will immediately make a video, post a video, and you will receive immediately notification from YouTube about this topic of your matters, maybe citizenship by descent or other visas or citizenship by marriage, and all the topics that we cover on this channel. Thank you so much for your time and see you on the next videos.